Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is David, and today we have a tag for you on Tag Tuesday. This is the 555 tag, created by Gareth, my friend over at Book Songs and Other Magic, where it's all about the number 5, because he hit 555 subscribers. And I would love nothing more than to see him get to his next milestone, 600 subscribers, really, really soon, because his channel is just outstanding, well worth it. If you want balance between books and music, then that's the place you want to go. So we're going to just kind of go off the cuff here. I'm even going off memory for the different questions here, but I'm pretty sure I've got it down. So the first one is give a high five to 5 books. And I tried to, this was the only thing I prepped, and I grabbed from my shelf something that I think eclectically describes my taste. So the first high five here is Hyperion, which blew my mind last year. Absolutely blew my mind to read this. The follow-up, Fall of Hyperion, is equally great. And the best thing about this is the homage it pays to Chaucer, to Keats, all the while telling a very, very wonderful, engaging narrative, where most of the narrative in this book is in the background word, because it's all about these characters and their backgrounds and the histories that they're telling to each other, Pilgrim style, from the Canterbury Tales, and seeing the threads that weave them together. And this is just fantastic. It's one that I think is going to be a book that I endlessly reread, and I cannot wait to finish the rest of the Hyperion Cantos. I've got 2 more books. They're lengthy books. I need to get back to them soon, and I will be before the end of the year. I'm pretty sure, at least starting it on the 3rd book in that Cantos. The next one I'm going to pick up. So that was my science fiction high five here. My fantasy high five is Robin Hobb's Ship of Magic. This kind of stands in for the entire trilogy. I only have this one book in the trilogy, but the entire Life Traders books. When I was younger, I read the Farseer trilogy and absolutely loved it, and still really, really enjoy it upon revisiting it. It's a bit slower paced than I remembered, but still really, really good. Life Traders does not suffer from those same problems. It is all engaging, exciting, and has so many unexpected ideas, twists. One of the most fleshed out antagonists that I've ever encountered in literature, in the form of Captain Kennett. Characters that you end up, by the end of the first book, not really enjoying. Wintro, who is a son of the father that inherits the ship, and he wants to be a priest. Malta, who is a spoiled brat of a girl. You end up not only caring about them by the end of the trilogy, but I would say that Malta had probably the best character arc of almost any character I've ever seen. She went from I absolutely loathed and despised her to being a character I was actually excited to return to by the end of the book 3. Fantastic. Well worth the read. If you haven't read anything Robin Hobb and you're not sure where to start, you would do far, far worse to start with that trilogy. So now we go to standard classics. And if we have a classic, it's got to be The Count of Monte Cristo. This is a massive chunker. And this has been one of my absolute favorite books for a long time. Dumas is just a master of the craft here. Yes, there are extended scenes and aspects of it because the guy was getting paid based on how much he was able to pump out. This was published in smaller segments, so it was serialized. They had regular installments coming out, and so the longer he drew it out, the more he was able to continue making his living from it. But I would argue that it doesn't have unnecessary bloat, unlike some others that I've encountered. It is a complex, very, very interesting interwoven plot and a story of revenge that is fantastic. If the size of this intimidates you, or what have you, a good secondary high five here would be to The Star's My Destination by Alfred Bester, which is only about 300 pages long and reminds me so much of what I love about Count of Monte Cristo and being a revenge story. Fourth high five is to The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser. Yes, we had to get something a little more along the lines of medieval. I decided to go to someone that's just a little past Shakespeare and go for The Fairy Queen. This is depressingly overlooked, but incredibly readable and engaging. It's not one that you're going to sit down and just breeze right through. You are going to sit there and wrestle with the imagery, the ideas being conveyed. And that is half the fun right there. It's just wading through the prose, the poetic prose that Spenser's putting together, and the allegorical, the symbolical, all of those layers are in action. And The Fairy Queen is just phenomenal. And it's one that I want to get back to soon, and I need to get back to soon. And so last high five here is kind of standing in for two things. My love of Norse. I enjoy the Vikings, their mythology, the history, their sagas. But the one thing that really, really surprised me this year, more than anything, also covers into the graphic novel territory. And that is Northlanders by Brian Wood. This is a graphic novel. This is volume 1 of 3. It's a thick volume, so it's got issues 1 through 16, 18 through 19, and 41. So first of 3 volumes chronicling the entire Northlander saga. I'm still watching for volume 2 of this. I've seen volume 3, but never went through on picking it up. And I read this in a day. I read this entire thing in one afternoon and evening. I could not put it down. It was exciting, engaging, riveting, very artistically done, and an absolute delight. And I can't sing the praises of this enough. I can't wait to find volume 2 and volume 3 so that I can read the rest of what Brian Wood has created in the Northlanders. And I really need to try to find those sometime soon. So the next set of high fives is to 5 authors. So I'm going to try and move a little quicker here. First high five is to Ray Bradbury. I already had enjoyed Ray Bradbury before my Read Every Author By, but the Read Every Author By has only enhanced how much I enjoy his writing and just the master element of his craft that he has grown to. The second high five is to J.R.R. Tolkien. Of course, I've got to mention Tolkien. You notice I didn't hold up Silmarillion or Lord of the Rings or Hobbit. It's because I was saving Tolkien for this. And there's not much to be said about Tolkien that I haven't said before. It's absolutely mind-blowing what he created. The depth, the life that has been poured in to his world. That is so hard to take and do homage to in a proper way and recreate. And that's why we'll never have a perfect representation, adaptation, because it can't be. The third high five is to Joe Haldeman, another science fiction author here. whose trilogy for the Forever War series also really, really blew me away last year when I read it. Each of them grappling in very different ways, but being a thoughtful representation and a very interesting way of dealing with the idea of war and what it does to us and what the ramifications are and how that impacts people. You follow a person who goes into war and because of space travel and how long it takes to get from things to things. It might take him 2 years of flight, but in that 2 years, time has gone significantly faster for those outside of that ship. And so, going off to war, you may never see family or friends ever again. And even if you do, they will be significantly aged. And all of it posits really interesting questions, and he has some really, really interesting characters in there. The fourth high five is going to be to William Shakespeare. I know. Love it, hate it. You still should at least watch, if not all of his plays, at least a dozen or two of the major ones. There are so many great ones. And underrepresented, usually, are the history plays. And those are some of the best plays that he has written. You think of the big three, the Hamlet, the Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, but Henry IV, parts 1 and 2, Henry V, Richard II, are all excellent. The Tempest, Othello, Merchant in Venice. So many fantastic plays. And even if you don't read them, watching a theatrical production. YouTube probably has some for all of them. Julius Caesar. All of these are fantastic. And he did so much to lay the foundation for what we know today for an English language. So major high fives there. And then last, but certainly not least, I'm going to save my last high five here to a very prolific, a very well-loved author on BookTube. And one that I enjoy, and that's Brandon Sanderson. You know exactly what you're getting into when you grab a Brandon Sanderson book off the shelf. It is a flavor of ice cream that that you're going to love, so there's no reason to deviate from it. And I find myself, I really, really enjoy his stuff. It's never going to be the best fantasy that I ever read, but there are some aspects of it that are just phenomenal. The magic system in Mistborn, for instance, just mind-blowing. The way he weaves tales through longer books like the Stormlight Archive. The way he's crafting everything all interconnected together. I mean, all of this just works really, really well. Yeah. So there's number 5, Brandon Sanderson. Although I did consider doing Bernard Cornwell as well. But since I've only really experienced his Saxon Chronicles, I figure I probably should at least dabble into his Sharp novels or some of his other historical work before I crown him as worthy of getting this high five. So next is high five songs. So 5 songs, and I have a very varied taste in music. So first and foremost, we will have a high five to Starman by David Bowie. David Bowie's probably my favorite artist, and I've gone through many, many stages of which one of his songs is my favorite, and recently I've landed on Starman. It's just a really, really catchy tune. But there's so many that you could drop in here. And I'm going to just stop at just one. But very, very, very enjoyable. With all the music, I'll have a link to the videos down below of where you could listen to the song itself. So number 2 is The Luring by Patty Gurdy, featuring a guest star by Fawn. Patty Gurdy plays an instrument that's a medieval instrument called a hurdy-gurdy. If you've never seen or heard it, you are in for a treat. It is a very, very unique instrument. I love the sound of it. And then the guest appearance from one of the singers from Fawn, which is a German folk pagan band, whose sound I really, really enjoy at times. Can't be beat. I mean, the pairing of the two together is just a great song, and it's one that I could endlessly listen to. The third musical high five here is going to go to La Belle Dame. I'm drawing a blank on the name. It's a Keats poem. La Belle Dame, La Sans de Merci, or something like that. It's a Keats poem. And the medieval babes sing the Keats poem. And it is just wonderful. And I'm kicking myself for not being able to tell you the name. And a very, very close second with them. Because odds are you probably have never heard of Medieval Babes. Their song, The Blacksmith, which is sung in Middle English, is just an absolute delight. Absolute delight. So I'll count that as my fourth. Yeah, we'll go with that being 3 and 4. And then last but not least, to round out the eclectic mix here, I've got to do something because I sing. My daughter loves music. She's got medical conditions. She can't really move on her own. She's stuck in chairs and on the ground all the day. She'll probably never walk. Probably never talk. And one of the things that almost guarantees lighting up her face is barbershop music. 4-part a cappella harmony. So almost every single day we take out time to sing 2, 4, 6 different songs by barbershoppers. And one of our current favorites right now is by so every year they have a competition, and this year's winners was a quartet named Quorum. And one of the songs that they sang was Happy Sad from the Addams Family. And we're really, really enjoying it so far. That's not the only one by them. Them Their Eyes is also phenomenal, and probably an even better sample arrangement. I could list off dozens of barbershop songs because of this little girl and the love for this that she's developed in me. I enjoyed it before, but I've just come to really, really enjoy and love barbershop music because of her. And so, if you ever want recommendations on some barbershop music, let me know. I've got all kinds of recommendations. So, next is to high five. 5 moments in your life. So these are kind of standout moments. And so anybody that's married that has kids that has some easy ones in their pocket. And so, of course, there's the standard. I'm going to high five the day I married my wife. She has changed my life for the better. She's made me a better person. I'm going to high five the day that I came to know God, to develop a faith in God and Jesus Christ, and to become baptized and all of that. I came to it in adulthood. And my life has transformed since then as well. The Third would be the birth of my son. Easily. He's such a fun little boy. 6 years old, full of energy. Loves Mario. Loves playing video games. Loves Pokemon. Loves Sonic the Hedgehog. All kinds of fun stuff. Superheroes. Mostly Marvel. We haven't done much with DC, and that probably is partially because I'm more of a Marvel person myself too. Fourth being the birth of my daughter. In spite of all of the headaches, the hassles, the painful moments that are wrapped up in it, because she spent the first 3 months of her life in intensive care. She was not expected to have much of a life expectancy. We didn't know if she would live through that. And it was hell. We got her home mid-December that year. And Christmas Eve, she was back in the ER for 3 more months. That first year of life was absolute hell. The next year wasn't much better. But she lights up the room. She is the joy in our world. And I couldn't imagine not having her around. She's just so wonderful. And so the fifth moment that I'm going to choose here, because we haven't really done any good vacations. It's hard to take vacations now. It's hard to travel because all of the medical equipment and needs that she has, so we can't really travel far. But the moment that really stands out is a moment that we wouldn't have known at the time. But we are over 2 years now from her last unplanned hospitalization. And so bringing her home that last time from that hospital on an unplanned stay, 2 years ago, November. That's a huge high five, looking back in hindsight. Because she gets so much better care at home. So much more love. And it's so much easier to take care of her when we're not in the hospital with her. Sorry. And last but not least, to high five 5 booktubers. So these people are going to be tagged. I would high five here Steve Donahue because he claims he never gets tagged, but he got that already from Gareth. So I'm going to high five a couple of folks here. I'm going to do Joe from Joe Loves to Read. Because she's just an awesome booktuber. She got her TBR down to 0. So she read every book on her shelf. What an accomplishment that was. She's currently enjoying new motherhood. Has a fairly recent little in her life. I'm going to also tag Aramus, who reads some fantasy, a lot more YA fantasy, and a lot more romance, but also has a little one, fairly recent in her life. Just adorable children for both of them. I'm going to go ahead and tag an erudite adventure, Tony. I think it would be great to hear from you guys, whether it's both of you or just you, Tony. Either way. I'm going to do Liam from Liam's Lyceum, who was the champion of Sword and Sorcery here on BookTube. And then I'm going to tag Michael from Fit to Be Read, who still has just an amazing production on everything he does and puts so much time, thought, effort into what he does. So there you go. There is the 555 tag. Thank you, Gareth, for creating such a fun tag. It's a good one. And even if you didn't get tagged, I hope that you would do it and take up the mantle and give us your fives. So thank you. Have a great day.